Okay, we're going to talk about economic indicators as we've been going through this in class. We're talking about a branch of economics that's known as macroeconomics. Macroeconomics looks at the entire economy as a whole and how well or not well it's doing. So basically they're just describing the health of the economic situation that we're in. There are two different types, the leading and lagging, which we won't be talking much about, but the indicators that we're primarily concerned with are lagging indicators. The first of which is the gross domestic product. The gross domestic product is just the dollar value of all the goods and the services that are produced within a country in a given year, which basically means you just take what all the goods and services are worth and you add them all up, and that's more or less your gross domestic product. Gross domestic product, when it is low or negative, around 1% or less, 1 to 2% is pretty low. 4 to 5% is a pretty good GDP growth rate. But if it's negative, that's a terrible situation, and there's a lot of effects that the economy will see. If you are an individual affected by low GDP, you may see a loss of employment, a reduction in wages, possibly hours or benefits. Those are all possibilities for individuals. Businesses, if there's low GDP, then it just basically means that manufacturers aren't producing a lot, so therefore they may be doing the same things that we've already mentioned, like laying off workers and decreasing their hours. If they're looking to expand, it wouldn't be a good time to expand because there's not a lot of confidence that the rest of the economy is going to follow suit. And for the government, it's terrible because the government's forced to do more with less. If there are less people working, there's less taxable activity, so therefore there's less revenue stream coming into the government, and they're forced to provide more help in the form of stimulus packages, welfare assistance, unemployment checks, SNAP assistance, and the such. It's very important to understand that when one economic indicator is not performing well, most other economic indicators will also see terrible, unhealthy statistics. So the effects on the individuals and on the businesses as well as on the government are going to be the same, whether it's low GDP or high unemployment or low retail sales or high energy costs. These things will all have the same types of effects on individuals, businesses, and the government. When economic indicators are low or negative or unhealthy, there are things that the government, businesses, and the consumers can do to better their situation. And in order to do this, each of them will use the factors of production in the way they see fit the best for their situation. For instance, the government can do a number of things. They can decrease regulations and strip away red tape and allow businesses to thrive and give them more opportunity to exploit resources that might be available. A prime example might be Williston, North Dakota, where the unemployment rate is the lowest in the nation. The exploitation of natural gas has led to a number of new jobs and opportunities for individuals to work and get ahead. There are some other things that businesses can do as well. And in times of economic stress, businesses will also react. They will react by not only laying off low-skilled workers, but looking for better labor and highly skilled workers in order to improve their productivity. They may look into new forms of technology in order to improve their situation and to also basically make a better profit and not have to pay out as much in wages to workers. If you're an individual that's affected by negative or poor economic indicators, many of those individuals will work on improving their skills and their education. In other words, they're looking to improve their human capital by going back to school and learning these skills and getting training and possibly moving to where jobs are, and basically also cutting back on their own spending and making budget cuts within their own personal budget. Businesses and government will look to improve their infrastructure and their physical capital to be more efficient. Governments may allocate resources differently and may provide more opportunities for people to get an education and to look into research to find better ways to do things. The government and businesses will also look to improve entrepreneurship by attracting bright minds to come to the country and implement their ideas. These are just some of the ideas, some of the ways that the government, the businesses, and the consumers can utilize the factors of production in order to better their situation. The Federal Reserve System can also step into an economy that's doing poorly and help to improve it by doing a couple of different things, mainly by controlling the monetary policy, and that just basically is the control the supply or the amount of money that's in circulation at the time. Ben Bernanke is currently the head of the Federal Reserve Bank, and he's up here in the upper right hand corner. The way they do this, the way they control the amount of money in circulation, is controlling the prime interest rate, which basically determines how much it's going to cost you and I and businesses to borrow money in order to conduct their lives, to buy a car, to buy a home, or to expand their business. If the Fed decides to increase interest rates, this will decrease spending by consumers and businesses and decrease the amount of money in circulation. They will oftentimes do this to control inflationary rates. However, if they decrease interest rates, that will increase spending. This will give incentive for businesses and people to go out and expand their business, or to buy a new car, or to buy a new home, therefore putting more money into the system and hopefully jump-starting the circular flow. The other way the Fed can increase or decrease monetary supply is by buying bonds and selling bonds. If they buy bonds, they're basically trying to put more money back into the economic system and stimulate growth that way. If they sell bonds, they're trying to buy up money and decrease the amount of money in the flow, and that would also help to curb increasing inflation rates. The government can also increase or decrease taxes in order to increase or decrease the monetary flow in the economic cycle, or the business cycle, or the circular flow rather. If the government decides to decrease taxes, there are some good things that can come out of that, and there's also some negative drawbacks as well. Decreasing taxes will help the private sector by increasing spending by individuals and businesses. It can promote more job growth, and like I said, it gives incentives to expand your jobs and hopefully expand opportunities for people to work. However, if taxes are decreased too much, this can lead to increased debt. The goods and services that are provided by the government then would be lacking, and therefore those who would be hurt the most would be the poor and the disabled. If we increase taxes, if the federal government decides to increase taxes, some good things and bad things can also result. If you increase them, you can increase the amount of investment on human capital, such as education, and you can provide those services and the goods that are needed throughout your population. But if taxes are increased too much, basically will lead to decreased spending in the circular flow, and it can ultimately hurt economic growth by causing businesses to stop their ideas for expansion. Housing starts and foreclosure rates are also indicators that we can look at to determine the health of the economy. If housing starts are up, we know people are spending a lot of money. A lot of people are being put to work into starting up a business, or basically going forth and starting the construction of new homes and maintaining those homes and furnishing those homes. And the banks get involved because you need a lot of money in order to purchase a house. So if we see a lot of housing starts, then this is definitely a good sign that the economy is turning around and people feel confident that they're going to be able to spend money and save up for a house, and hopefully contribute then to the rest of the economy. But if housing starts are very low, we know that people don't have a lot of confidence in the economy. This would also coincide with possible high foreclosure rates, and therefore there's a decreased amount of money being put into the circular flow, and that ultimately will hurt economic growth. The unemployment rate is also an indicator we can take a look at. If the unemployment rate is high, obviously then there aren't a lot of people with jobs, or they're underemployed and they're working for less wages and less hours, so therefore they're not able to contribute as much money into the circular flow, and that ultimately leads to poor economic growth. If unemployment is low, then obviously the exact opposite can be said. People are working, they are spending money, and the rest of the economy will benefit from that. These numbers are a little bit off as far as what Minnesota's at. We're around 5% unemployment rate now, and the United States is down to 7.1% unemployment rate.